might just be a bit of brinkmanship involved.
It seems like it's been ruled out.
Yeah, I suspect that, to be honest with you, I suspect this whole saga is what we saw last year, which was a bit of clever brinkmanship from Michael Carter to force the hand of the developers.
Or bring the rents down.
Exactly. Right, talking of people that want to bring the prices of things down, Leeds Rhinos have agreed to a settlement that will allow hooker James Seguiaro to join NRL side the Cronulla Sharks with immediate effect. The player was placed on the transfer list by the Rhinos last December with a valuation of £250,000 following the announcement by the player that he would not return to fulfil the remaining 2 years of his contract with the Rhinos. Chief Executive Gary Hetherington said, "We have agreed terms with James Seguiaro to enable him to sign with the Cronulla Sharks. The terms of the settlement are strictly confidential, but we can report that the club is satisfied with the financial settlement." So that allows James Seguiaro to resume his playing career back down under with Cronulla, Mark. And I suspect that given the performances of one Mr. Parcell in the opening few weeks of the season, that Leeds fans are not particularly bothered these days.
Yeah, I think Leeds probably aren't that. I think the person who's lost out is Seguiaro, because he was looking to, the Sharks were looking his likely destination for months now, and whilst he's been forced on the outer, what's the young lad who's
Braden. It won't come to me quickly enough. It's going to be a Jack Reed moment.
It's one of your teams.
I've not watched them this year yet either.
Have you not? Oh, you've not got your subscription sorted. They have some freeview games on Saturday mornings at the moment on Premier Sports, but yeah, I'll find out the name.
There you go. Well, whilst you do that, I'll talk about another young player that Bradford Bulls have re-signed, and that's halfback Jordan Lilly, who's returning to the Bulls on a month's loan. The Bulls and Leeds Rhinos have come to another agreement that will see the 20-year-old spend a month at the Providence Stadium after a successful initial month with Bradford earlier in the season. Sticking with Bulls news, Hunslet have announced that they will be entering into a dual registration agreement with the Bradford Bulls for 2017. The League One club had previously had dual reg arrangements with Leeds and Featherstone Rovers, but officials of both clubs have now agreed for the deal to run until the end of the current campaign, which comes as a bit of a surprise to me as a Bulls fan. I didn't think we had that many players to spare, to be perfectly honest with you, but hopefully that'll work out well.
It is a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't think we had enough players to start sending lads to Hunslet for games, unless it's some of the younger lads. Although they did rotate the squad very heavily for the Challenge Cup this weekend. So to contract news then, and Hull FC have awarded contract extensions to prop Liam Watts and halfback * Jordan Abdul. Watts, who's 26, is currently serving a free match ban and has signed a 2-year deal that will keep him at the KCOM until the end of 2020. Abdul is 21 and on a season-long loan with neighbours Hull KR has extended his stay to the end of 2019. Watts said, "It's really pleasing. I had this year and next year, and it's always nice to have that security behind you. It's great to have it finalised. I've been here a few years now, and it would be great to get a testimonial with the club, but I've got a big, exciting 3.5 years ahead of me." So good business for both sets of players and for Hull FC, I would say, Mark. Okay.
I think obviously it helps Abdul reinforce that he's part of the plans, even though he's away on loan this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good for him.
Absolutely. 3 NRL sides have been given record fines for breaching concussion protocols. Gold Coast Titans were fined £93,000 or 150 billion Australian dollars for incidents involving It's a bit of a sad state of affairs when the only joke you can make about Aussies is about the exchange rate, isn't it? 150,000 Australian dollars for incidents involving 3 players, with St George, Illawarra Dragons and Newcastle Knights charged and fined £62,000, around 100,000 Australian dollars each for single cases. All of the incidents occurred in third-round matches last week, with the Titans fine relating to Kane Elgee, Joe Greenwood and Ryan Simpkins during their win over the Parramatta Eels on Friday. The Dragons were fined for an incident involving Josh Dugan in a win over Cronulla on Sunday, while the Knights were sanctioned after Brendan Elliott picked up a head injury during a defeat by Souths on Saturday. Good to see that this is being enforced and that clubs are being held accountable for concussions and making sure that they are brought to book for not looking after their players.
Seriously, isn't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think it's absolutely right. Good on the NRL.
I remember thinking at the time the Joe Greenwood one. that he definitely should have been going off the field, and it seemed like he insisted on staying on the field, but that's not how this should work.
No.
And so, I mean, because you know it might happen at the time, but then he might be suing him later for not forcing
exactly
to drag him off. So
they've got to be seen to be wise.
The clubs have been foolish if they've kept players on like that. They have said one of the players was like an eye injury and one of them was a jaw injury, nothing to do with any actual concussion possibilities. But if the protocols are head injury, take them off.
Yeah.
But I think it happened a couple of times in the Super League as well this weekend, where there was questionable ones whether players should have gone off or not.
A lot of high shots this weekend, weren't there?
Well, in the Wigan Huddersfield game, Sam Powell had his head strapped up, and I think what happened was a stray arm or foot or something caught him and cut the side of his head. But he didn't appear concussed at all. But still, it's a head contact. I was expecting that he would have had to step off the field at least for a few minutes to be more thoroughly checked out. He didn't. I don't think there was any damage at all.
No.
But
that again is
the Joe Greenwood one was a bit different. He did look noticeably rattled.
There you go. Well, we'll stay in the NRL for one of our final stories then, and we'll stay with the club that's having a bad week. Jason Taylor has been sacked as West Tigers coach just 3 games into this year's NRL season. Taylor was due to come off contract at the end of this year, but his sudden exit comes after 2 heavy defeats from the first 3 games of the season, including a 46-6 thrashing by Canberra on Sunday. West Tigers chair lady Marina Go said his contract was being terminated immediately. Our position has always been to make sure that the head coach's contract is tied to performance, and that hasn't changed, she said. We are committed to building a side that will be in a position to win NRL premierships and believe that this decision is the correct one for the future of the club. Current West Tigers assistant coach Andrew Webster will take on the role of interim head coach until someone else is found. Todd Payton and former Perth and New Zealand Warriors coach Ivan Cleary shape up as the leading contenders according to local reports.
Interesting. Yeah, Cleary's out of work and I'm surprised.
Is Cleary not involved with Lebanon? I know that's not full time, but
it might. That was just the Lebanon coaching position was just announced recently, so I can't remember. It might be. Jaden Brayley is your young hooker who's having a good start to the season in the NRL.
Yeah.
Looked out of his depth against property.
Back to the reserve there for you, young man. That's all right. You can take.
I don't think so. He's been playing 80 minutes as well, because the swapping around didn't work in the World Club Challenge game when obviously the greatest rugby league team on earth put them to the sword. But
they're all hangovers, mate. I don't know what you're boasting about. They were all on the piss that weekend.
Yeah. Anyway,
you should have won by more.
Yeah,
you fucked it up. And finally, England's test against Samoa on Saturday the 6th of May will be the headline event of a Pacific triple header at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. Wayne Bennett's England squad will play the mid-season game ahead of the World Cup in Australia, New Zealand and Papua New Guinea, which starts in October. In addition, Fiji will play Tonga and Papua New Guinea will face the Cook Islands. Campbelltown Sports Stadium is one of the outgrounds used by NRL club West Tigers and has a capacity of 20,000. The last time England and Samoa met was in the 2014 Four Nations in a game which ended 32 points to 26 in favour of the Northern Hemisphere side. The upcoming test will be played during a designated NRL international weekend, although there was no such break built into the Super League calendar. This will be a tough test for us with so much of the playing group coming from the UK, but we'll prepare the best we can, said Bennett. The Samoans are always a physical side, but we've got a solid group of players to choose from, and I'm looking forward to getting everyone together for the match ahead of the World Cup later this year. Now, the reason I included that as our and finally mark is because I find it quite surprising that we feel it's good preparation to fly a good portion of our side literally across the other side of the world to play in a friendly and then fly them back again in the name of preparation. Surely we could get a comparable match or something comparably intense against France and not have to go through this.
The difficulty we've got is
at
least a third of our squad is currently playing, or around a third of our potential squad is currently playing in the NRL. So either way, you'll be either not playing the full team or flying people out across half the world. So it is difficult, and I think some sort of preparation game has to be built into the schedule. It's interesting, I think, that they're only going to be allowed to pick 3 players from each Super League side maximum.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting one to follow to see who gets called up there, because they'll miss. Well, I guess they'll be flying out at the start of that week, maybe earlier. They'll miss 1 round's worth of fixtures, and then there's a potential jet lag issue on the other end.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Not usually something you associate with the RFL, is it? Poor planning.
Last time we did this, we got absolutely tonked by Australia in the mid-season international, wasn't we? Went back when Brian Noble
this is
was
the other side of it.
Was that 2006?
I think around there, yeah. But the other side of this coin is that I can see us going all this trouble to keep Super League clubs happy. Oh, we'll only pick certain players, we'll only have so many, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then we're going to fly all the way over there, and Samoa will probably beat us.
I wonder about any Samoan players that might get picked from the Super League side, because obviously the Samoa Tonga test last year, a few players flew over for that, didn't they?
Well, there was a Sikamano and Frank Pritchard notably went, didn't they? Because they played on opposite teams, but I'd need to have to look back and see
that was it.
Who else, but that's not. Do you know what I mean? I'm not worried about Samoa. I'm worried about England.
No, but Super League teams might, because there's a lot of island nation players knocking around anymore. But it'll be interesting to see. And if we win the World Cup at the end of the year, it won't be a problem. If we lose the World Cup, everyone will have been idiots for doing it.
Yeah,
but
we're going to the semi-final.
Not going to win the World Cup.
No, we're going to go.
We are going to win it, because we are. But
Matty Smith dropped goal. Isn't it? That's what I heard at the start of the year.
I'm starting to doubt that now that Matty Smith's had been injured and every other halfback started on fire.
Yeah, he's got work. He's got work to do, hasn't he? Let's give him a chance. He's got work to do. Right, that's the news taken care of. Let's take a look back now at round 5 of Super League. So to Thursday night, Mark. Let's start there with our round 5 review. The Lee Centurions 22, Warrington Wolves 8 in front of 7,011 people. It was let's call it a niggly display, shall we? That might be the kindest way to put it, with a couple of sin binnings and some high shots thrown in for good measure. Surprising, considering that Lee Centurions are on the field normally quite clean, aren't they, Mark? But a good result for the Centurions over the hapless Wolves.
I'm struggling to remember this because I've seen so much rugby league, so thankfully we've got the fan views to get the ball rolling and jog our memories.
We do. So who was the first in touch?
Alan Walker, he said, another solid Lee showing. They could well stay out of the bottom 4. They know how to rough it, but Gift will be out for a while. Wire Pack were soft again and dirty. Love the biff, but no room for elbows. People wanted jeopardy. They've got it. This could be your team next year. Hashtag Schadenfreude or Karma.
There you go. Twilly Leaks got in touch. This is a new Twitter account that we've been getting behind. You get the feeling that the player cam will be used as evidence against Gidley in upcoming player reviews and contract talks. Yes, it was not a vintage Kirk Gidley. Well, in some respects, it was vintage Kirk Gidley, really, wasn't it? But it wasn't the sort of performance he would want.
You mean the close-up knock-on spot?
Knock-on cam, yeah. Jeez, I think I would have knocked on given some of the footage that we saw there. But it was an interesting concept and one that I'm enjoyed in terms of them. The thing I didn't enjoy was the following night getting Kirk Gidley on to co-host the Leeds game and basically telling him off. It looked like they were like,
I didn't see the periphery around the Leeds game.
Well, they obviously have put a lot of time and money into setting up this player cam, and the execution of it didn't quite go the way that Sky would have liked, because A, Warrington lost, and B, Gidley had an absolute stinker. So I think they lined him up to be with Carney to kind of talk about it, and talk us through this, and didn't this go well, and what was going through your head here? And invariably what was going through your head here was, oh shit, basically. So Gidley just looked really sheepish for the opening 20 minutes of the show, like he'd already had this kicking off Tony Smith the day before, or the morning before. So that was Twilly Leaks got in touch, sorry.
No, it's fine, it was good extra stuff. Shoddy and Mungo.
Yeah, well done, Tom.
Shoddy and Mungo got in touch. Alan said, 2 successive league leaders missing out on the top 8 next year. Hashtag Wire Slump 2017.
They're certainly a little one, aren't they? Tyler Casfan said, you know what to expect from Lee, especially at the LSV. But Warrington didn't handle it, and the longer the game went on, the more Wire played panic rugby. On the rare occasion they got to Lee's try line, the creativity was non-existent. Lee stuck to what they do best and deserved the win.
Scoots 28 Max said, not a lot to say. Lee were good, Warrington were not. Lee always seemed in control of the match, particularly once they had blown wide away in the first 30 minutes or so.
Aidan Stalker said Lee were only average tonight, but that's a compliment. It was a very professional job and they killed off an out-of-form Warrington side. I like that Ben Crooks fella, puts a smile on my face watching him play. The player camp was a nice idea.